I came here to do two things and two things only. Burn heretics and steal all your army's love from GW. And I already stole that love, so let's get to this. For Sigmar!
Welcome to Age of Sigmar, where happiness isn't allowed, enjoyment is banned, there is no such thing as peace, and it is an age of unending war.
Abandon the laws of physics, as only the faithful will survive.
So who is Sigmar, I hear you ask? Sigmar was once a human like you and me, in a world that was long ago, and then one day he wandered off into the wilderness and was worshipped as a god, as though he then became a god. Then one day Sigmar lost and the world was destroyed, so Sigmar clung onto the burning core of that world, floating through the universe until he was rescued by a star dragon. And if you think that doesn't really make any sense and you don't understand what the hell's going on, just remember.
Abandon all reason. Know only war.
The star dragon showed Sigmar the mortal realms and showed him how it was possible to recreate life here. There was a realm for each law of magic from the world that was. A realm of life, a realm of metal, a realm of heavens, a realm of fire, and so on. Sigmar then created life and brought the gods from the old world back. This included Alariel, Nagash, also the more brutal twin god being Gorka Morka. Among other gods such as the elven gods and the dwarven gods, Sigmar formed a pantheon for which he would rule these mortal realms. However, as all things, there is always an end. Some of the gods started to disagree with Sigmar's terms of rulership. This included Nagash, who refused to bow down to Sigmar and wanted to rule the realms for himself. Also amongst those who abandoned the pantheon were Gorka Morka, simply because they're the best and they weren't getting enough fighting. Let's be honest, an age of peace does sound ideal, but if you're a Gorka Morka style god, i.e. the god of destruction, which we'll get to in a moment, who revolves purely around war, then you're not really going to give two shits about peace and you're going to get bored pretty quickly. Whilst all this was going on, the gods of chaos, those responsible for destroying the world that was, were trying to find a way to break into reality, into the mortal realms. And then one day Nagash saw fit to unleash the gods of chaos into the realms, as this would weaken Sigmar's forces and allow Nagash, the god of death, to be able to resurrect all those who fell in the war and take over the mortal realms for himself. However, as Sigmar was so infuriated with this betrayal of Nagash, Sigmar decided to send his forces against Nagash before he would against the endless demons of chaos. Eventually Nagash fell to Chaos' greatest champion, that of course being Archaon, and then went into hiding so that one day in the future he could be resurrected yet again, as time is no inconvenience for the dead. Sigmar and his forces were overwhelmed by the armies and legions of chaos, so that he hid himself away in his own realm, that being the realm of heavens, Azir, and he locked all entrance to his realm and allowed the rest of the mortal realms to defend for themselves. Village by village, town by town, city by city, civilization by civilization, continent to continent, and realm to realm, each civilization fell at the hands of chaos. It was at this moment that Sigmar came up with an idea to be able to make a new army from the fallen heroes of those who gave their lives fighting against chaos. Now, how would Sigmar make these new soldiers, you ask? He would pour the energy and the magma from the core of the old world and forge that into new suits of armour that would make demigod beings, which would be known as the Stormcast Eternals. And in case you guys are a little bit confused about what's going on, because it seems like very high magic and you don't really understand how this all came about, just remember,
Abandon all reason. Know only war.
with Sigmar's new army, he unleashed it upon the forces of chaos, trying to reclaim what he once had. And that began the age of Sigmar. So, Sigmar is an age of unending war, and who is in this war, you may ask? It's quite simply us versus them. Us being the forces of order, which consist of humans, elves, dwarves, space dinosaurs riding dinosaurs that are made out of light, energy, magic, and memories of a big toad that sits on a throne. And if you're a little bit confused about the last one there, just remember,
Abandon all reason, no, only war.
so that is what makes up of 10% of Order, and then if we're being honest, the rest of Order is made up purely 90% of the Stormcast Eternals, those true demigod warriors we already talked about. So what is a Stormcast Eternal? A Stormcast Eternal is essentially a demigod-like being such as Hercules. However, imagine Hercules was injected with an insane amount of steroids, pushed into a nuclear reactor and somehow survived, had lightning gone through him, and then forged into 6-inch thick armour made from a core of a dying world, and now stands at 12 feet tall. And what is the sole purpose of their creation, you may ask?
Die, heretic scum.
Think of them as the souls of heroes that have died to chaos, that their souls have been reforged into suits of armour so they can fight again. However, this time they will fight and they will die and they will be reforged again until eventually there is nothing left apart from a pure killing machine. They are essentially Crusader Knights, fueled by their religion of their lord Sigmar, and Sigmar is the only god that needs to exist, and they will kill anyone who disagrees, innocent or otherwise.
Only the faithful deserve the life that Sigmar provides.
So now that we've talked about us, let's talk about them. Who is anyone who's not one of us? And they are the forces of chaos, death and destruction. So looking at the forces of chaos first, who are they? They are essentially Stormcast Eternals but with more spikes on. However, instead of being heroes that died in a legendary heroic death, they gain their power through worshipping one of the four gods. And who are the four gods? They are Khorne, who is the god of bloodshed and slaughter and has a throne made out of skulls. We then have Nurgle, who is the god of disease and pestilence and cares for only life to grow on in the same way how bacteria and a virus infects a host. We then have Ezech, who is the lord of change and manipulates fate to his ever goals. Then we have Sanesh, who is the god of excess pleasure and sex. But we have to be quite quiet about that because this game has to be quite friendly for children. So, if you guys are a little bit confused of what these gods are, quite simply look at them as the Doom Demons, the Fat Ones, the Birdie Wordies, and the Whips and Chains. If you still want it even more simple, you've got the red one, the green one, the blue one, and the purple one. And that is as simple as they come. Now, what do these gods fight for? They fight for the ultimate destruction of their opponents. And of course, their opponents you may think are Sigmar and Nagash and the other gods we mentioned earlier. However, their greatest opponents are their siblings, of course, being fighting amongst themselves. For once they have defeated all other gods and creatures out in the universe, they will turn on themselves to find out which one can be triumphant in their great game.
What you just heard is heresy, brother. Do not fall to it.
The next grand alliance we have is Death, and when I say Death I essentially just mean Nagash, because this guy, he runs all of it. Sure, we've got some flesh eater courts which are cannibal creatures that believe they are heroic knights wielding on a heroic crusade to cleanse the land of all things corrupted, but instead they prey on the innocent and they eat their flesh and everything else that is in between. I am Sir Loin of the Kingdom of Jadewood. I will give you this only chance to run and flee, you foul creature. And then going back to Nagash. Now, Nagash, he is the Lord of Undeath. And how did he get to this title? How did he get to this rank? He essentially killed every other god out there that was an entity of death. He didn't just kill them, he consumed them and gained their power. And with that, wiping out various other afterlives so that all souls channel towards him. And that is his final goal, to make that happen. He's already starting to achieve parts of it. And considering that as the Lord of Undeath, as someone who can never die, time is endless to him. So sooner or later, he is going to achieve his goal. Nagash is all, and all is one in...
Nagash is a traitor and will die by the will of Sigmar.
So moving on from that heresy, we then go on to Destruction, who are quite simply the biggest and the strongest. But what actually is an orc, you may ask, or if we're being honest, we have to call them orcs because of copyright reasons, and Games Workshop is really annoying about that sort of thing. But anyway, moving on for all that sort of legal reasons that you don't have to know. Orcs are made out of fungus, the same as mushrooms. And if you think, what the actual fuck, just remember.
Abandon all reason. There is only war.
And there are lots of different types of orcs, but the two main ones we've got are the Ironjaws, which are essentially orcs who are the biggest, and they think by strapping lumps of iron crudely made into armour, which is even thicker armour than the Stormcast themselves. And then you have the Bone Splitters, which are the savage orcs. And quite simply put, the Ironjaws are the orcs with armour, and the Bone Splitters are the ones that are naked. And then we also have grots, which are a form of fungus themselves, and these form mainly the Gloomspite Gits, with many trolls and giant spiders fight alongside them. So those are the greenskins, and then we move on to the ogres, which are gigantic humanoid monsters that have an insatiable hunger for flesh. These ogres are formed into two main armies. These are the Gutbusters, the army with the most numerous numbers. Then we have the Beastclaw Raiders, which are more of the hunters that ride gigantic beasts that make even the ogres look small and run away from an ever winter storm that follows them with the cold as a blizzard there ever was. And those are the races that are within the age of Sigmar. Now there is also a race of rat men type creatures. That is the most innumerable race in the whole of the age of Sigmar, and they create incredible inventions such as a phone. They shot down a moon in the world that was, but I didn't really want to tell you about all of that. Number one, because you're probably already really confused, you don't know what age Sigmar is, and also no one actually believes that the Skaven actually exist, and all those who do believe,
their mind's already gone, brother. The kindest thing we can do is give them a swift death.
So now you know who we are and what we're fighting. You might think that Sigmar with his Stormcast are actually the forces of good and order. However, just remember, Sigmar wants to create a unified order of all the mortal realms, with him at the top and everyone having to live in peace and harmony under his will. And remember, he also wants to make his own pure race of super soldiers. So sort of an SS, if you like. And if someone disagrees with his grand plan and his plans for domination, what does he say? Nay, nay, nay! And it's just enough lucky for Sigmar that his Stormcast Eternals seem to win every battle they ever fight in. And why is this, you might ask? Is it the heroic strength given to them? Is it their numbers? Is it their supreme training? Is it their pure will or faithfulness dedicated to eradicating chaos? If you thought it was these things, you would be completely wrong, as the only reason why they do win every battle is because they're given all the love from Games Workshop. Games Workshop does not give love to the other armies that do require it. They just give all their love to Sigmar, to the point where Stormcast Eternals are incredibly boring. Most of the models all look the same. Also, the other thing about Stormcast Eternals is that they've just got so many of the same like War Scroll models. Like they've got loads of Lords Celestins. Like as soon as there's like a store birthday or something like that, it's like, oh, the new model is going to be a Stormcast, and it's not like it's the same for Space Marines in 40k. For Stormcast, they even feel more like the Golden Boys because they're in golden armour and they're just so boring. And I just had a...
This broadcast was terminated as heresy was detected. If you have watched this, then you're already corrupted, and you shall burn, heretic.
And with that, brings us to the end of this video. So this video may have made completely no sense to you guys, and you may have just wondered what you've just watched. However, if you are watching it at this point, then you've already been watching this video for 15 minutes, and the goal of this video has been achieved. Thank you very much for your view. But obviously this video I created for a bit of fun, thought it'd be a bit different to what I usually do. You guys might absolutely hate it. If you do hate it, instead of disliking the video, I just ask you to put the feedback in the comments, as that helps me out massively. However, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like. Make sure you subscribe and comment down below, so that does massively help the channel. It's absolutely free for you guys to do so. Like I say, if you like this sort of thing, I can try and do it in the future. It just involves quite a bit of editing, but like I say, if you don't like it, just let me know in the comments. I just thought it'd be a bit of fun. If you'd like to support the channel a step further, I've now got a Patreon account, which is a great way to support the channel for me to be able to get battle tones for the armies I review, and also to save up towards a better microphone, get a camera so I can start doing battle reports like some of you have requested, and also for the time that I put into the channel really does help massively towards that. And on that note, I'd like to thank my vampires on Patreon, and these are tier 2 patrons who give essentially at least $5 a month to me, and that massively has helped towards all those things. Thank you for your continued support, guys. I really hope you do keep it up. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you can't support me on Patreon, that's absolutely fine. I'm just really glad that you came and checked out this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and remember, as always, until next time, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash. Also, Stormcast are terrible.